At VLT, we're doing everything we can to reduce fire risk for our community, and we encourage our neighbors to do the same. So California law requires everyone to clear vegetation within 100 feet of homes and buildings to help reduce fire risk. That means trimming grasses, removing shrubs, lifting tree canopies. When that 100-foot buffer extends over our property line from neighboring homes, VLT is responsible for doing that work. So each year we end up clearing roughly 10 acres of our preserves, areas we wouldn't otherwise disturb because our neighboring residential structures.
Looking for some mustard to pull. Get out of there. Try not to break the root. There we go. Oh, double. This is short pod mustard, one of the several types of invasive mustards we have on the property. So this one properly uprooted most likely will not grow back, 99% confidence. This one not properly uprooted. There's still a fair amount of root structure left in the ground. It'll most likely grow back. So in order to kill this whole field of mustard, it would be to hand pull this. It would take an incalculable amount of hours to hand pull every single mustard in this WUI zone. So that's kind of the fight we're up against of, you either properly pull it or you improperly pull it, it grows back, or you line trim or chemical treatment, which is something that we definitely use at our disposal. We are in what's called the Harmon WUI, so the Harmon Wildland Urban Interface. So you're gonna be hearing the term WUI a lot.
WUI.
WUI management. WUI is an acronym. WUI stands for Wildland Urban Interface, the Wildland. It's kind of a hard thing to say. So you'll hear the term WUI a lot. That stands for Wildland Urban Interface. Pretty much just means where a neighborhood meets the wildland. To my left, we've got Harmon Canyon Nature Preserve, about 2,000 acres of really intact coastal sage-grouse habitat, directly abutting the Clear Point neighborhood where hundreds of residents live and rely on the fire safety work that we do to keep their homes safe. So that area, home to wildland, is the WUI. And that's your WUI. Woo! A pretty common question or theme we get is, why is the slope not taken down to zero? Why is it not all dirt?
If it starts burning, I'm going to call you.
Okay, yeah, well, we're definitely working to the fire department standards and codes.
We've been through the fire once already. It was all natural, and it burned like hell.
And I get that question just from face value. It seems if there's just dirt, then what's going to burn? But that's not necessarily taking into account the long-term management of this area. What taking it down to dirt year in, year out actually does to the soil, to the environment, and to this slope, both highly erosive and, when you take it down to dirt, highly flammable when the invasives grow back. To his question of, isn't that flammable? The answer is obviously yes, but there's maybe a bit more nuance than a perspective of someone who's just lost their home and the fire is able to digest, understandably so.
My name's Quill Yates, and I'm the field manager at Ventura Land Trust.
The June 1st deadline is the fire clearance deadline, so it's the date that work has to be done by. Things are still actively growing and will continue to actively grow because nature doesn't stop growing when we've decided it should stop growing at June 1st. Which leads to adaptive management for us. We have to look at how much rain we've gotten through the year, come out in the field, see what's growing when, and determine now's the right time to do first clearance, now's the right time to do second clearance. Pretty stark difference here. This was about thigh-high vegetation of varying different invasives and flashy fuels. And what they come through and do is with a line trimmer, they come from the very top and kind of snake their way down to pretty much to soil. That vegetation then forms a ground cover and ideally is going to keep things from growing back again this year. And that'll be us for the year in terms of weed whacking. So hopefully if you do this enough times, it's a strategy to get rid of invasive plants. We will never get rid of mustard here. It'll always be here. But if we lessen the seed bank, we might be able to lessen the quantity of mustard and therefore have it be more manageable in the future.
If you look at this biomass that we have right here, this is just from 2 trees. We've treated 12. We've got another 5 or so to go. Had we not done this, it would have been a dense forest of tree tobacco that becomes flashy fuels for fire. Back before I knew what I know now, I don't know that I would have thought you can't just drag all the vegetation out. You're spreading seed the whole way and making the problem worse. We'll take this up the slope, we'll wrap it in a tarp, hoist it over our shoulder, and then carry it out to the truck. It's really important to monitor that kind of thing. Come clean, leave clean, stay clean. Those are all things that we try to follow. That was the easy part.
There are some common misperceptions about what people can do or what they should do for fire safety. And in today's world, our wind-driven events last multiple days. They're not happening between August and November like they did back in the 1980s. They're happening year-round. The Thomas Fire happened in December. We had significant fires during February. My name is Brian Clark. I'm a former fire marshal with the City of Ventura Fire Department, retired several years ago. And I'm currently a board member with the Ventura Land Trust, as well as the Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council. Reality is, we're a very small fire department. We're reliant on this master mutual aid plan throughout the state and bringing in resources. So those first few hours are critical for people to save their homes. People need to be aware. They need to stay engaged and understand that the best that they can do is today, well before the fire happens. So homeowners need to be part of this solution. They need to consider home hardening tactics.
My name is Stephen Watson. I'm the Executive Director at Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that helps to address wildfire safety in Ventura County. What is home hardening? Home hardening, in a nutshell, is making any modifications or changes to your structure or property to make it more wildfire safe. And that can be anything on the home itself. It can be vents, screens, retrofitting windows, the siding, the roofing, anything on your property that will make it more resistant to direct flame, radiant heat, or ember intrusion. That's one of the biggest things that we're looking at these days.
When you think of fire, don't think of solely just the flame front coming up and coming against your home. You have to think of those ember showers. Those are the things that come way ahead of the flame front because it's driven by wind. If you look at it from a firefighter perspective, everything out here is fuel. It's just to what degree do I have fuel to deal with. If it's a home that has a large wood pile, placement of that wood pile is pretty critical. If it's a home that was built in the 1970s and has a wood shake roof, that's a less defensible home than this home that's been built within the last 7 years. Has Class A roof, eaves that are enclosed, double pane windows, good fitting doors, and very few entry points for embers.
One of the things I want to stress most, regardless of where you land on your beliefs of wildfire safety, whether we should clear a certain amount of vegetation, 100 feet, 200 feet, maintenance is key. And if we're maintaining our vegetation, if we're removing dead vegetation, cleaning out the brush in our gutters and in our yards, that's going to be really critical for wildfire safety. So the Firewise USA program in itself is administered by CAL FIRE and the National Fire Protection Association. We, as the Fire Safe Council, will help assist communities in becoming recognized, which looks like creating a group or a board that oversees the Firewise community, creating a boundary map, doing a risk assessment, an action plan, and then applying through that application process. So in Ventura County, as of mid-2025, 33 recognized Firewise communities. Back in 2022, we only had 2 Firewise communities. There are a number of benefits that come with it. What gets a lot of communities involved is that insurance component. Insurance is a huge issue when it comes to wildfire these days. Any sort of discount or even just keeping insurance can be a benefit for many communities, and we've seen that throughout with this Firewise program. And so if a community becomes recognized, they can submit a funding request to us, and we can help do those actions and services that are listed in that action plan. So we're sitting here right now next to the water towers up above Hillcrest. You'll see behind me there are some eucalyptus trees. I know that there's a project right now to remove some of these. What I want to say on the topic right now is different vegetation does matter. There are different vegetation types that are more or less risk for wildfire. Eucalyptus, for example, is a high wildfire risk.
I don't expect someone who's coming up to hike to know that there's allelopathic toxins in eucalyptus tree leaves. A doctor isn't going to know about toxins in leaves. A school teacher might not know about it. You know, school teachers know a lot, so they might know about it. That means that when they drop their leaves, they will release chemicals into the ground that prohibit other plants from growing. When plants don't grow and evolve and adapt with eucalyptus trees, they have no countermeasures to those toxins or to those chemicals. If you look under a eucalyptus tree, there's not much else growing, if anything growing. Removing those eucalyptus trees allows us to reestablish the native habitat underneath. All that planning, clearance, hauling, it all adds up. On average, it costs us more than $60,000 a year just to stay on top of our required fire clearance. It seems so simple on the surface. You're a nature preserve. Shouldn't that mean you're not doing much? when in reality, not doing much a lot of the times means doing a whole lot to not do much, if that makes any kind of sense at all.
At VLT, we're doing everything we can to reduce fire risk for our community, and we encourage our neighbors to do the same. A community really is, at its core, a cooperative effort. We're incredibly proud of the work we're doing in the WUI and to help protect our neighbors and their property. And we're just as proud of the work happening across our preserves to protect and strengthen our region's biodiversity. But really, we can only do this work with the support we get from people like you. If you're able, please consider becoming a VLT member or donor. We've made a commitment to care for this land forever, and we can only keep that promise with your help.